Salvete discipuli. We are picking up our translation, Daedalus and Icarus. We only have 15 lines left in the whole story, so we're going to do 5 or 6 more lines today and continue on. So, a reminder, as always, we are still considering the themes: what happens when humans do things that are beyond human abilities, what is supposed to be the appropriate relationship between father and son, how do human flaws contribute to their downfalls. And remember, we are at the point now where we are really incorporating things in our understanding of the story. Daedalus and Icarus, it has 2 tragic figures. They're both tragic, right? Daedalus loses a son, and Icarus loses his life. So when we're thinking about these themes, number one, we want to be thinking about, the fact of what happens when Daedalus takes it upon himself to craft the ability to fly, right? This is something that should be beyond human ingenuity, being able to do things that put them on par with gods. And of course, Icarus in his flight as well, not following the directions of his father. And number 2, we want to think about, how should Daedalus and Icarus have behaved? What would have maybe saved both of them this tragedy if they had behaved differently as father and son? So what is the ideal relationship that's being presented in this story that is not being achieved? And then finally, how do the human flaws contribute to downfalls? We want to think about what are Daedalus's flaws and what are Icarus' flaws and why do they bring them tragedy? Okay. So we are in the middle of our flight, right? So Daedalus and Icarus had just taken off. And so they have flown from Crete, which you see down here at the bottom of the map. And you can see their flight path there with the black arrow. And the arrows and other circles here were pointing to some of the other places that are of note that will get mentioned in the lines. So you're going to see the islands Delos, Paros. You're going to see Kalymne. You're going to see Samos mentioned. And a few others, and so all of these, Libinthos, all down here. So we see them flying here. Those we're going to be passing here. They're going to be mentioned as on the left, and on the right, the islands that are mentioned over here. And you'll notice here circled Icaria. This is an island that is, of course, going to be named after Icarus, as well as this sea area is going to be called the Icarian Sea, because as we know, Icarus is going to drown. Okay, so enough spoilers. Let's dig into the text. So again, we left off in the middle of the line 220. So we pick up here with and now, which is etiam. On the left side, the laiwa parte. This is ablative place where. In poetry, we don't actually really need a preposition. It's often missing in poetry for dramatic effect. On the left side, and then we understand some sort of like sunt or errant was Eunonia Samos. There's our subject. So Eunonia here is the adjective form of Juno. So Junonian, or of Juno. Samos, that island, which if we flip back to our map, is right over here. Samos, on their left there. We find out. That is an island that is supposedly sacred to Juno. There is, in fact, a big temple, and this is attested in other works. You're going to read Virgil's Aeneid at some point in your Latin careers, and you'll see that mentioned very early on in the first, probably about 20 lines of the Aeneid. Very famous work. You'll get to it at some point. So, and now on the left side was Junonian Samos. And then we have the parenthetical. We have more names of islands. I do want to point out these OS endings on the islands because they're, of course, Greek names. OS is equivalent to US. They are feminine, though. It's interesting. So this is kind of like words like Agricola, which have feminine endings but are actually masculine. This is islands are often have masculine-looking endings but are feminine in gender, which is why we have Eunonia, the feminine adjective for this. And when we have the participle, which is part of our verb here, relicti, is a feminine ending as well, because islands are actually feminine. Most places, cities, islands, towns, often considered feminine. Anyway, so we're continuing in the parenthetical. Delos and Paros, both Delos and Paros had been left behind. Right. So Junonian Samos is on the left. On the right, was Lebinthos. So here, Lebinthos was on the right. And Kalymne, the other island here, rich, fecund, actually you have the English word fecund, with honey, or rich in honey. So we are mentioning these islands here because if we take a look back at the map, remember that they were not headed over this way. They were supposed to be going to Athens. So they should have taken the left here and headed to Athens, right, which was the hometown that Daedalus is headed for, but they end up off course, right? Terrible things happen when you do stuff you're not supposed to. So again, Delos, Paros here. You'll see some other Greek islands there as well. So these islands are considered the Cycladic islands. We'll look more at other island maps as well. Samos up here, and Levanthos and Kalymne over here on this side on the right. So those have been left behind. Samos is on the left. These guys on the right. So we are pretty much somewhere around here. Okay? All right. So that's our geography lesson for the day. And of course, this is something, not just geography, but this is a nice opportunity for Ovid to sort of show off how smart he is about geography and these places. All right, so he continues. Cum, when the boy, quapit, began to gaudere, to delight in, and it takes the ablative, his audaki volatu, his bold flight. Now, this is something that we call a transferred epithet. Basically, epithet is another way of saying adjective or descriptor, because it's really the boy who was bold, not the flight. But it works with both. But it's Icarus who's being rash here, and of course, puer here is referring to Icarus. So when the boy began to delight in his bold flight, and we have a clause separated off here because, of course, we have a little cum temporal clause. Right? No, it's temporal because we just have the indicative mood. So when the boy began to delight in his bold flight, and he abandoned his dukem, his leader. His leader, of course, is Daedalus, who said, "Follow me." And Thractus, we've seen this way back in the beginning, the first couple lines of the Daedalus and Icarus story, where we had Daedalus influenced by a love of his country. Now here we have Icarus influenced by cupidine. Again, this is not a great word, cupidine. This is not, this is greedy love, right? Longing, things that Cupid makes you feel. Love and passion are actually considered evils or potential pitfalls in the ancient world, maybe still in the modern world. So influenced by a longing desire for the sky. Here are objective genitives. Don't forget about those. We talked about it before. He made an iter, a journey, altius, higher. So he made a journey higher. Altius, here the ius ending tells me that is a comparative adverb, right? The I there tells me it's not just the simple adjective altus. So that's our text for today. So we are halfway through line 225. We'll finish it off in the next video. Take a moment. Make sure you've got your notes down here. There's nothing super complicated grammatically here. Cum clause, we had a complementary infinitive gaudere up in line 223. Otherwise, nothing super crazy yet. Right. Some more pictures for you. I really love this carving here because you see a lot of the different references to the Daedalus and Icarus story. So for instance, you might recognize the labyrinth over here on the right because they're fleeing Crete. And then, of course, you see Daedalus with his wings and Icarus falling there after he's gone too high. Right, and here's another depiction of what's to come. He's going to fly too high. He hasn't gotten yet, but he's getting there. Okay. All right, so your assignment, besides checking out the awesome Led Zeppelin poster of Icarus, I've seen some of you guys wear t-shirts, even if you don't know who Led Zeppelin is. But you're going to head to Google Classroom, and you're going to complete the Google form assignment for these lines 220 to 225, and that'll finish you off for this day.